And welcome to End of the World News, the podcast. I'm your host, Ben. I'd like to introduce my co-host, Cindy. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Well, for the past 36 hours, I've just been doom scrolling because, the world's exploding and all of that. But besides that, surprisingly well.
Good.
And,
I
you
guess.
know, well, so one thing I noticed while I was doom scrolling, watching the Middle East catch on fire,
What?
just how thankful I was to the Father that he's my foundation.
Yes.
That I find my peace and tranquility through him and not the world. Because if
Absolutely.
it's through the world, you're going to go the way of the world. And
Yes.
based off of how people are responding on social media and in real life, I'm glad I'm not going that way. I'm glad I'm taking that narrow path with our Messiah.
Yes. I agree. I think that temptation will continue to be presented to us as things happen. And so we are very blessed
Yes.
to have that relationship with Messiah.
Amen. And what I also started thinking about was God bless Dr. Michael Heiser for doing work on Deuteronomy 32
Yes.
and the
Yes.
Deuteronomy 32 worldview, as well as a couple other passages. Because when you understand that, you understand the system on way the world works. And then you can judge what's happening and make sense of what you're seeing. Because if you don't, um, even if you are a believer, it can definitely take you down one of these earthly agendas, which ultimately I don't think is what God wants from us.
I agree 100%.
I think during this time, God wants us to be a light in the sea of darkness, sharing the good news with everybody, the gospel,
Yes.
glorifying him in all of this. This is what he's tasked each one of us to do, not to save the world. We can't save the world. I'm sorry. These principalities and powers, these worldly governors have been in charge for so long that I don't see that's happening. Where we can make a difference is that spiritual battle, right? The one that's going on in the spiritual realm that we can't see. And it's for our soul. And the only way to, win this battle is having faith in God, right? And loving our neighbor like we love ourselves.
Absolutely.
So first, I wanted to pull up a passage just to kind of talk about this stuff today, just so you can make sense of it. I know we talk about it all the time, but here's a passage from Deuteronomy 32, 7-9. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the peoples according to the numbers of the sons of God. But the Lord's portion in his people, Jacob, his allotted heritage. So, right there, where it says, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders, the nations, right, of the peoples according to the number of the sons of God. Now, when you go to the Septuagint, the Greek word for sons of God here is the same word they use in Genesis 6:4, implying
Mm.
that there's a supernatural principality or power ruling over each one of these nations.
Hmm. Sounds a little like maybe some New Testament things we've read as well.
Oh, yeah. And, Psalms 82 is another great one. This is when God is actually judging, in my opinion, these B'nai Elohim that are ruling over the nations. And let's read this one real quick. Imagine being in the room for this one, right? Being a fly on the wall, seeing God Most High just ridicule all these other sons of God or rebellious sons of God. I would like to see that. Now, here it goes. God has taken his place in the divine council. In the midst of the gods, he holds judgment. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of wicked. They have neither knowledge nor understanding. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. I said, you are gods, sons of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, like men, you shall die and fall like any prince. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit the nations. Isn't that a wild passage right there?
It's extremely wild. There's a reason a lot of people don't preach on it.
Well, because you have to take into consideration that there's these other gods, specifically the sons of the Most High God,
Yes.
but the Bible tells us all this, and it's right there. So far we got that we've talked about is that God created the nations. He assigned a lowercase God to rule over each one of them. And then in Psalms 82, he judges these gods for treating us unfairly. Now, Paul kind of picks up on this in Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, right? So principalities and powers, I believe, are words they use for these fallen gods. And the reason they use principalities is because they're responsible for a specific region over the earth, over each one of these nations, and against the worldly governors, the princes of darkness, and the worldly governors are these Babylonian bloodlines, against spiritual wickedness, which are in high places. So there's really a network of fallen Elohim, B'nai Elohim, their demonic offspring, which are the disembodied spirits of the giants that are ruling from the spiritual realm.
Yes.
And it's manifesting in this earthly realm through these Babylonian bloodlines.
Yes, absolutely.
Many of who are direct descendants of the Raphaim, which are
Yes.
the post-flood giants. And then, as you know, I think that these Babylonian bloodlines are actively trying to manufacture this biblical end of days prophecy. And I think that all the nations, right, if you're involved in the UN, you're part of this, right? Because in every great war, what do you need? You need an opponent. You need the boogeyman, the bad guy. And they're all kind of playing the role. But look what Ezekiel 38:7-9 says. Be ready and keep ready, and all of your hosts that are assembled about you, and be a guard for them. After many days you will be mustered. In the latter years you will go against the land that restored from war, the land whose people who were gathered from many peoples upon the mountains of Israel, which had been a continual waste. Its people were brought out from the peoples, the nations, right? And now dwell securely, all of them. You will advance coming on like a storm. You will be like a cloud covering the land, and you and all your hordes and many peoples with you, right? And I think that if you look throughout, modern history, starting before World War I with the Balfour Declaration, that letter between Lord Rothschild and Lord Balfour about their intentions of reestablishing the border of Israel over Ottoman-controlled Palestine. You then have the Habar Agreement after World War I, which Britain then took control of Palestine. And that was an agreement between the Nazis and the German Zionists, where they could transfer 2/3 of their wealth down there. The 60,000, the richest Jewish Zionists, were allowed to go down there free of charge. You then have this rise of this occultist Hitler. And he was a occultist. He was giving, speeches from the throne of Zeus, which is a fallen god. In no means was he a Catholic, or in the sense that we believe Catholics are. But what happened as a result? You had Jews move back to Israel. And now I think it's all coming to, fruition. And I think they're trying to get all the other Jews to move back. The innocent Jews who live in America have nothing to do with the actions of the Israeli government, have nothing to do with the actions of Mossad, to get them to move back to Israel, because that would fulfill this prophecy. What say you?
Oh, I 100% agree. I mean, it's crazy when you begin to realize that, it's not just this physical world that we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's a spiritual realm that kind of initiates everything.
Absolutely.
And, part of that is this war between Iran and Israel. And believe it or not, guess what? They are co-opted, Iran, by these principalities, these powers, these worldly governors, just like, Israel is, just like America is, just like any of these nations are, and we got to take that in consideration. And because what the world wants you to do is to pick sides,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. They do.
All right. Well, first I want to start off with what they're saying about, Israel and America and what's going on with Iran. But first, maybe we could start with a little bit of great journalism from Ian Carroll not too long ago.
I sense that this may be tongue in cheek. Keep going.
Just a little bit, just a little bit.
I suspect, I'm hoping I'm not blowing the lid on Trump's idea here. I kind of suspect that Trump is kind of in on a coup against Netanyahu right now. This is just my theory based upon the way he talked about like occupying Gaza and the way he's friends with Jared Kushner and the way he's friends with the Adelsons. I suspect that these powerful Jews, like the Adelson type people, are starting to realize that Netanyahu is kind of sinking this ship, and he's kind of fucked it all up, and it's not going well for Israel in the public conversation. Like I can ratio just about anyone I want on Twitter over the Israel thing because the public sentiment is just shifting, and it's not healthy for anyone, for Jewish people or anyone else. And I'd suspect that the powerful Jewish people are starting to see that and are starting to scheme on how do we fucking get Netanyahu out of there and put someone in that can actually be and move us towards some sort of peace. Because without a genuine desire for, like, Netanyahu is on fucking camera saying that they have propped up Hamas in the Gaza Strip because they don't want a real government in the Gaza Strip, because it's far better for them to run this occupation and to eventually take the land if Hamas is, that's not an exact quote.
You know, in honor of the Stark House from Game of Thrones, the North remembers.
Yes, that seems
the
accurate.
North remembers, right? That definitely did not happen. Remember when they were trying to say, oh yeah, Trump's really trying to fight Netanyahu and replace him. I mean, that's just QAnon light, right? That's for all the people who kind of believe in Q, but they think it's a little too crazy. There's so many different levels to this. And ultimately, this type of rhetoric that Trump is really this white hat that's really going after the bad guys is what got him elected.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. Yes.
And as we know, he is 100% part of the agenda.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Let's see what Trump actually has to say. So for our little update, and then we'll get into some of the conspiratorial stuff real quick, okay? Oh, shoot.
States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives.
And you know what's really interesting is that he also just came out and said it's going to last for another 4 weeks.
You kind of have to wonder, what's the need for another 4 weeks?
Well, they need more time to blow up the Dome of the Rock.
Well, that's true.
Because
they have to sneak up on it after all.
Right? And if they were to do it themselves, there would be too much bad publicity behind it. And this way, now, whether it's actually an Iranian missile that hits it or one of their missiles that hits it, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, when we wake up one of these days in the next 4 weeks, don't be surprised if the Dome of the Rock is destroyed. So then they can build that third temple, sacrifice those red heifers, because that is an interpretation of prophecy.
Well, we do know that the red heifers only have a certain lifespan, so I'm sure timing is key on that.
It's almost like shit or get off the pot, right? But maybe they have more red heifers. Maybe there was multiple breeding programs of these red heifers.
Well, you'd have to, because I mean, we already had them, and that's been a couple of years ago. People were talking about them. And don't they have to be a certain age? They still have to be babies, I think, when they sacrifice them.
Yeah, well, there's also some believe that they already did that sacrifice of the red heifers, right? So,
okay.
right after October 7th, the Hamas leaders actually brought up the red heifers in the third temple. Now, remember, Hamas was created by Israel and then pawned off to Qatar. And they are just as controlled as the Israeli government is controlled. And they're like that permanent boogeyman. But anyways, they brought that up after October 7th. And they go, oh, we're actually not going to do it. There was something wrong with one of the red heifers. We're going to do a mock sacrifice because we've raised this entire priest class to do it. We have this special type of technology that we're going to use to sacrifice the red heifers. We need to practice it. And then everybody's like, okay. That's not too crazy. But then Adam King, who's definitely tied to this, one of these influencers, a few months after that made the rounds, and Tim Cast was one of the propaganda shows that he went on, and he goes, oh, by the way, when we said that we were doing a mock sacrifice, that was the actual real sacrifice. And then he pulled out a baggie of red heifer ash.
But I guess there's a part of me that while I tend to be skeptical about these things, one thing we do know is that for at least at a minimum the last 10 years, there have been reports coming out of Israel that there has been a group of Israelis that are part. I think they're part of this particular group that's pushing this, and somehow every single year they go and they find a spot outside the Dome of the Rock. I think one year they even tried to inside the Dome of the Rock, which nobody could figure out how they got in there, and they try to have the sacrifice every year, and it's a little underwhelming. I mean, that was like a big thing that was put all over social media, especially back in 2015, 16, somewhere in there. And you just look at it and you're like, that just kind of looks like a barbecue to me. But having been raised in Texas.
Right. And that's the thing. It's both Jewish and Christian Zionists who are trying to make this happen. And there's some big money and some big organizations behind these movements.
But that's part of it too, though, because you see these you and I've laughed about it because I always say allegedly, and the reason I say allegedly is because just because a story is out there doesn't mean that you understand the intention or the purpose of it, and so a lot of times they're trying to show that forward movement so that they can get more money out of the people supporting these movements.
Yeah, and that's why I always joke. It's like the Jews who are trying to usher in their Messiah.
Yeah.
They're going to get the Antichrist. And the Christians who are going to trying to usher in the Antichrist, they're not going to be raptured pre-trib. So the joke's on both of them.
Yeah.
And we have to, deal with what comes. God protect us all.
Yes.
So let's
I agree.
This.
They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible.
You know what's interesting? And remember, the first thing to die in war is the truth, and that's on all sides. But you know, RT News, which is Russian propaganda, is actually, but it's all propaganda, right? Where did I put that? Gosh, well, anyways, I guess I took it off. They were reporting that over 500 American service members were actually killed.
Oh, wow.
And then you don't ever know. But you know what I also found interesting when all this was popping off is I'm so glad I don't view this through earthly eyes, because everybody's like good versus bad. You know, this paradigm in domestic politics and geopolitics is just a falsity. And in geopolitics, understand that the enemy of my enemy is just another satanic bloodline that takes their genealogy back to the fallen angels.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the thing that's funny is they're all on the same side, even though they pretend not to be.
Yes. And what it actually is fallen star worship. And we got to understand that these intelligence services, right? They don't work for you and I. They don't even necessarily work for the governments. They work for corporations. And who owns the corporations? These ancient bloodlines, especially when these intelligence operations were set up, right? You really had this blue chip family control over most of the economy. But if you look at their logos, right, and we're going to go over each one of these things, you will notice that there's a lot of star worship in them.
Yeah.
And the Bible calls angels stars, right? Remember where 1/3 of the stars fell from heaven, right?
Yes.
And here you have the Israeli flag. And we know the Rothschilds were instrumental, one half of the equation, as far as establishing the country of Israel.
Yes.
And they have a 6-sided star on it. But there's no 6-sided star of God or David in the Bible.
Right.
And it's actually a much older symbol than, 1830 when it was brought onto the scene. It's a magic symbol. Some think it's actually a symbol of a god, Remphan.
Probably.
Now, right? And you're like, well, that's really weird that you'd have a star of Remphan in what a Jewish country is. And then you have Iran. If you look at their intelligence agency, and this is a Muslim country, right? They have an 8-sided star of Ishtar on it with an all-seeing eye of Horus in the middle.
Yeah, but I think part of that is, to some extent, is our ignorance about these ancient cultures. So everything you said about the fallen angel part and the evil entity part of it is absolutely true. But even just on a human level, when you look at what the Bible says about those times, you've got all these people that are interacting with other cultures. It's, one of the things, if you study anything about archaeology or about some of these ancient groups, that you find out is they absolutely 100% take on symbols and behaviors and attributes from one another. And when you consider that Israel, even then, what was the initial seeds, were surrounded by all of these cultures, it stands to reason that there's some interchange happening culturally. You're going to find these symbols across multiple groups, multiple religions. That's from an archaeological standpoint. It's pretty fascinating, actually.
Oh, I'm with you. And, if you read the Old Testament, we can even expand this to more symbols, right? But if you read the Old Testament, you know, it's a story of the Israelites who would be worshiping God Most High, and then they would turn and they'd be influenced by their neighbors and then taking on the worshiping of their gods and their symbols. And a
Yeah.
lot of reasons you find these symbols all over the place is because these are symbols of the fallen. You know,
Yeah.
the Nazi symbol, the swastika, is a huge example of that.
Yes.
Everybody's like, oh, they inverted it and they made it evil. No, 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 no. This was an ancient symbol of the gods. And there's a
Yes.
reason why he was trying to create this Aryan race. He was going after the descendants of the Atlantean gods,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
Right. So this is also interesting. And now the third piece of this component right here, you have the Central Intelligence Agency, right?
Yeah.
And below that eagle, which I think is symbol that they are part of the Holy Roman Empire. I think all these nations are part of the Holy Roman Empire. I think
Yes.
the Rothschilds work for the Holy Roman Empire. But hey,
Yes.
some people differ with me. That's fine. But if you look at the Central Intelligence Agency logo, you see a 16-sided star. This is actually called the Virginia Sun. Do you know what the 16 points represent?
No.
The 12 Olympian gods and the 4 foundational elements.
Well, why not? That's awesome.
So you have this type of fallen god worship, and that's what it is, right? I think, and once again, what do we always talk about? Plans initiate in the spiritual realm. Then their demons possess these world leaders on all sides that worship these fallen stars.
Right.
And I think they carry out the orders. I wonder how much of them are even there. I mean, do you have any take on that? Like, once you're possessed by a demon, how much control do you think these world leaders have on their everyday actions?
Oh gosh. You know, that's a really good question. I think it depends on how controlled you are and how many demons you have. I mean, even the examples in the Gospels, you have some that are just completely controlled. You have that one kid that Jesus speaks to the demon inside of the kid, and it still takes several minutes for the demon to stop reacting. This is Jesus. And so everybody thinks the kid's dead, when in fact it was just the demon was not willing to leave, and it takes some time. The other examples is the demoniac that came out of the graveyards, that had been living in the graveyards. Now, what's interesting about that one is that's an adult male, and even though he's in horrific shape, there's something inside of him that understands he's got to get to Jesus for freedom. There's still some kind of power of choice inside of him. So I have to believe, I personally believe, that's only based on one example, that there's somewhere inside of people that gives them a choice. They haven't lost their ability to choose God. And so if they really want to go after God, they will.
I like what you said, that the ability to choose God, right? Because as all these things start to unfold and things start getting crazier and there's more explosions and there's more death, especially what's happening in the Middle East, I think that we should all pray for these people that they turn towards God.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because I don't think there's anything we can do to stop it. I think when it comes to life and death, we don't decide. I think that's ultimately at the hands of our Creator. He'll keep us as long as He needs us, right? As long as He has a plan for us. I think every moment we wake up with breath, God has a plan. It's whether or not we can realize what that is, but maybe that's part of the human experience. But I really pray that the people who are in all these countries right now that are being affected by this, the innocent people, right? Remember, just like I was once deceived, just like you were once deceived, the people within these principalities, right? Whether that's Iran, Israel, anywhere else in the Middle East, America, they're all deceived. And I just pray that if their time comes, and I pray it doesn't, but then again, there's nothing we can do to stop this. I just pray that they all turn towards God, that they all ask for
Yes.
forgiveness. And we all need to do that. I mean, hell, this should inspire us to turn towards God more. This should inspire us to ask for more forgiveness.
Well, and because here's the reality, everybody has some level of deception or blindness in their life. Just because you've accepted Yeshua as your Messiah and you've given your life to him doesn't mean that you don't have any deception in your life. We are learning constantly from the Holy Spirit. We are in a process of transition, of transformation, being renewed by the power of the Holy Spirit. But that happens for the rest of our life here. That's not, and I think even even if you've been on this journey for 80 years, I think we're still going to get to heaven and go, wow, I totally missed that.
I totally missed that, which is why it's important to pay attention to the direction that, Yeshua, Jesus, our Messiah, did give us. And that's the Great Commission. That's what we're supposed to focus on.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter if we are in the premillennial part, if we are in Satan's short season part.
Yes.
I love all. We shouldn't let eschatology divide us.
Yes.
But one thing I will point out is if you are a premillennialist, or even if you're a Satan short season person, you would have to admit that they're trying to manufacture biblical prophecy. Now, if you take my point in this, I think they're trying to usher in the Antichrist. But if you believe in Satan's short season, you got to believe that they're trying to make it look like Jesus hasn't come back yet.
Yes.
Either way, they're manufacturing prophecy. So when you have this worldview, you can still make sense of what you're seeing.
Yes. I fully agree with that.
You want to play a game right now? It's called Coincidence or Not.
It's all a coincidence.
Yeah, and shout out for all the people keeping it real, not choosing sides, understand what's going on, and not letting all this, video magic, meme magic, word magic influence you, right? So I'm going to read. It's all magic. So here we go. It's been 47 years since the Iranian Revolution in 1979. 47 is the number of degrees on the Masonic compass.
I don't know what the Masonic compass is.
So there is a compass on the Freemason logo. Here, let me see if I can look it up real quick. Well, anyways, people have seen this. There's a compass on the Freemason logo.
Yeah.
And it's spread out to 47 degrees.
Oh.
The same number of years since they installed the Ayatollah. If you look at, the Parliament building in Iran, it's literally a pyramid with 33 windows on each side. Yeah. Now look at this one too. Look at the Israeli Supreme Court.
This stuff up. It's so crazy.
Yeah, look at this image. Look at the Israeli Supreme Court. There's literally a pyramid right in the center of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna say that a lot of people would say it's a coincidence. All I'm gonna say about that is there seemingly are thousands of coincidences across the earth.
Yeah. And check it out. This is actually a post from Red Pill Drifter. I'm not saying I agree with everything that he says, but I do think he is fair when he calls his balls and strikes. He calls out everybody. And he actually has a post on how Freemasonry shaped Iran. And I'm going to read it real quick. The political movement that culminated in Iran's first constitution in 1986 and the creation of its first parliament was driven by intellectual transformation shaped in part by Freemasonic ideologies. How these ideas penetrated Iranian society despite the country's lack of development print culture, has long puzzled historians. One important conduit for their transformation was Freemasonry. In 1835, 3 Iranian princes traveled to London, where they observed and reflected on the many notable changes underway in England. Their administration for British ideas of liberty is evident throughout a diary they kept during the journey, with an entry dated 27th of July standing out as particularly revealing. So there's the actual quote from the diary. Went to a house in which the Lodge of Friendship of Freemasons was assembled. Here we had the honor to join the lodge, where all of us too our first degree in the most noble society. Every man desires to join in, must go himself and see. But I can say this, that is a most honorable, desirable, and sacred secret. Yeah, that they all worship Lucifer.
Yeah.
Every person that desires to become a member must be above the age of 22. No slave, no woman is admissible. A person may take the 3 first degrees of Freemasonry within a year and a half, and the 4th after that period has elapsed. A Freemason, after taking his degrees, will have a patent from the head of the society signed by the noble declaring him to be such. The head of all Freemasons in the world is His Royal Highness the Duke of Sussex, a brother to His Majesty.
There's no association with bloodlines. What are you talking about?
Right? So once you start diving into this research, to me, it's clear today, and I think the Bible also suggests it, like we always talk about, like we just talked about, that this is one big Masonic organization. I just use Masonic organization as like an umbrella term.
Yeah.
Within this Masonic organizations, you have all types of different ones. You have Yorkshire, Scottish Rite, you have Shabbat Lubitsch, you have the Jesuits, you have, you name it. If you pick a culture, if you pick a race, there is a bloodline that is deep in Freemasonic or this mystery schools, right? This fallen god worships that claims to represent you.
Right.
That might even take on your religion and act as a false angel of light to help guide you in their, manufacturing of prophecy, which we have definitely seen over the past 100 years, especially with the Zionist movement, but you're also seeing it in other places as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's telling is if you're a nerd like I am and you like to look at old things, museums and graveyards and things like that. The graveyards in particular are kind of telling, especially if you go up into the Northeast. And they at one point they were putting they're kind of like mausoleums on top of the ground. I think the reason they weren't burying the dead was because the potential for the flooding, and they knew they would come up and float away, and of course that freaks people out, understandably. So they would have these stone structures that were sitting on top of the ground. But I'm always amazed when I see one of these things because the top of it has so many Masonic symbols on it. Mm-hmm. And if you go up into the Northeast, you're talking back, this is like Pilgrims, Jamestown. You're talking early civilizations that are from Europe or from Great Britain that are there. I'm not talking about the Indians necessarily, although that's like a whole different set of symbols that can be similar as well. Even though
it goes back to the worship of the pantheon of gods.
Right. So I just find it fascinating that, a lot of people don't want to look at all of this because it's not in your history book. but go look at what's out there and you will see it. You will see it flying over Peru from the sky, something you cannot see on the ground because these symbols are huge and they're actually etched into the earth permanently.
They're also etched into that dress that the Pope likes to wear.
Yeah. Yes, they
Like,
are.
why does the fake vicar of Christ
Yes.
having a fallen angel on his dress? And why is he even wearing a dress?
I cannot answer that question. Maybe it's cooler for him. Maybe he likes the low breezes.
Yeah. And so maybe we can go into a couple of videos that we're seeing from this war, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a little hesitant a little bit because you don't ever know what you're seeing on social media is real or not.
At all.
And the
Not
first
even
thing,
close.
yeah. So remember when it kicked off, right? The initial Israeli attack and America attack and Israeli attack on Iran, right? It was reported that, you know, Kalamani or whatever his name was, right, was killed. That's what they thought.
Right.
And everybody was talking about it. And then this video popped up and it was titled, Khamenei is alive. He's giving a speech now, right? I'm going to play this real quick.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلی العظیم. ملت عزیز ایران، دیروز روز 22 بهمن امسال کار بزرگی انجام دادید.
And then everybody's like, oh, see, he's alive. And they started reposting this thing, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, even people who I like were reposting this and getting it wrong. And then it comes out, you know, hours later that no, he was actually dead. The Iranian, you know, the services right here, see, just amount that he was dead. So you have all these AI videos coming out. You have all these old videos coming out of past skirmishes, and they're just flooded with social media. And I think that's almost part of the plan, right? You start muddying up the waters. You have all this real info versus fake info. People don't know what to believe. They're running around and posting with their heads cut off. I think that's all kind of part of the plan.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we've had fake info for a while. I think the difference is now we know it and we're realizing it. And the fact that we can all make our own fake videos underscores the reality of, oh yeah, this may or may not be real.
Yeah. And I'll tell you one thing, there wasn't too many videos, at least when you search on X, of America and Israel actually hitting Iran too much. I searched for them a lot, especially in the search, you know, function of X, which is just horrible.
Yeah.
There wasn't many of those, which is interesting, but there sure was a lot of what Iran hit. And they definitely, it looks like they actually got through the Iron Dome. So I'm going to play a couple pictures real quick, a couple of videos real quick, just so people can see, but just understand that we don't know if this is real or not. And if you're listening, this is just death and destruction where a missile hit.
אוטובוס שלם עולה באש. אוטובוס שלם עולה באש. מכוניות, אנשים.
And that's what I mean when you see this stuff, and the same thing's going on in Iran, right? Shoot, there was a post right here, which we should bring up. Where is that? And then maybe we'll go on to some other stuff. Oh, here we go. Death toll in Israeli strike on southern Iran school rises up to 165. So the death toll from Israeli strike that hit the elementary girls' school in Minab, a city in, I can't pronounce that, province of southern Iran, has risen up to 165. Iranian state media reported the local prosecutor in Minab was quoted by the news agencies, the IRNA, on Sunday saying 96 other people were injured in a strike on Sharia Tayabe girls' elementary school amid massive U.S. Israeli offensive launch Saturday morning. And below that, just on the other side here is the RT News kind of saying that 560 Americans died in these Iranian hits. And I guess what's a little different, if we can believe these videos and what's being reported, unlike the last, war that I think they called the 12-day war between these groups, it looks like Iran, and that's if we can believe these videos, are definitely launching a bigger counterattack than they did before.
Which would go against the narrative of what we've been told, that a lot of those weapons were destroyed previously. So, that's the question is, that would bolster the idea that we're justified in going in because look at all this weaponry they have, or all of this ammo that they have, or I don't know. Or does it mean that what we were told before wasn't really true and they really didn't take out very much?
Yeah. I mean, you pointed, I think, this out to me. If they really took out their nuclear facilities with a bomb, if you blow up a nuclear facility, wouldn't that be a huge amount of destruction in the area?
I think there'd be a huge hole in the ground, if nothing else.
But we don't even know if nuclear bombs are real. That could also be a psyop.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I don't trust Einstein
as well.
or Einstein. I forget what it was, and I got to look this up, but it's truly one of the math problems that Einstein did or whatever.
Yeah.
That the people who, quote unquote, created the nuclear bomb used, one of the foundational mathematical equations. You know what it was? It was to the 33 power.
Oh, wow.
Yes, right? When it was describing some function of the universe, to the 33 power.
Wow.
But let's take a look at what these world leaders are saying about this right now. And remember, these guys are all puppets. Behind closed doors, they all work together. They're just manipulating the masses, their constituents, into supporting what they're doing. And guess what? Whether you're for it or against it, they like that, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? If you support the Zionist regime and everything they're doing, great.
Yeah.
They're carrying out their plans. If you're becoming disillusioned with it and you're calling it out, great. Because that's exactly what they want to happen eventually, which we've talked about this forever. There's going to be this battle between Zionism and Christian nationalism. Zionism's going to lose, and that's what's going to kick off these last 7 years.
Absolutely.
A major war.
It's just everybody playing into their hands.
Yeah. But this is what Trump says. I have just been informed that we have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval ships, some of them relatively large and important. We are going after the rest. They will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea also. In a different attack, we are largely destroyed their naval headquarters. Other than that, their Navy is doing very well. President Donald J. Trump, you got to get that little dig at the end of it in true Trump fashion.
Always.
Let's see what Bibi Netanyahu has to say. I just concluded a meeting with Minister of Defense, the Chief of the General Staff, and the head of Mossad. I issued directives for the continuation of this campaign. Yesterday, we eliminated tyrant Kamani. Along with him, we eliminated dozens of the regime's top oppressive figures. Our forces are now striking the heart of Tehran with intensifying force, and they will only grow even stronger in the coming days. Man, just God protect the people in both of these countries.
Yeah.
People are absolutely psychopaths.
I mean, and that's the thing that's disheartening about this is the fact that it doesn't matter which side you support or don't support. That's actually irrelevant in the face of people being killed.
Yeah.
That these people that are just the normal people, they're not part of these bloodlines. They're just being used as fodder for these fallen angel games that are being played.
Oh, without a doubt. We are just people. And when I talk about these organizations, I'm always talking about specific bloodlines. In fact, one thing that the fallen angels want is for us to group everybody of one ethnicity or everybody of one religion together, right? Because that's how they can get us on our sides in our tribes to help them fulfill this holy war. I believe that. And I think it's not that at all.
I agree with you.
All right, now let's get back to Benjamin Netanyahu. That's Benny Netanyahu. God, I wish I didn't have the same name as him. He's definitely not God's right hand. He might be Satan's right hand. But remember, they like to counterfeit all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
That said, there are painful days. Yesterday here in Tel Aviv and now in Bet Shemesh. We lost dear people. My heart goes out to the families. He doesn't care about any of these families.
Yeah.
And on behalf of all of you, citizens of Israel, I send my wishes for recovery to the wounded. We are in a campaign in which we are bringing the full might of the IDF as never before to battle to ensure the existence and our future. And believe it or not, this is actually not helping the future of the country, and they know this, and they want everybody to turn on them. I mean, it's clear as day to me. Everybody's like, Mossad's like, through deception, we wage war. And I'm like, yeah, all of a sudden they forgot how to do it. They want you to notice.
Well,
why do you think they released QAnon?
Every now and then, you have a lapse. You have a lapse in memory and you forget how to do your job.
Yeah. But we are also bringing to this campaign the support of the United States, my friend, President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the U.S. military. And here's a key part. This combination of forces enables us to do what I've longed to do for 40 years, to strike the terrorist regime hip and thigh. That's what I promised, and that is what we will do. So if you really want to piss off the people who think that, Donald Trump in America is captured by Zionism, or is Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, that last thing right there, where I've wanted to do this for 40 years, and then you had the video of Trump handing the key to Benjamin Netanyahu in the White House. That's what I'm saying. All this stuff publicly, it's to get one part of the population who's no longer defending this to adamantly oppose it and adamantly call for its end, which will then kick off this last war. I mean, these fallen angels are smart. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, which is why we should pick Jesus during all of this, why we should pick God the Father to have a relationship with.
It's interesting the way he says this too, because he speaks of the hip and thigh. And so he's hitting on people who would understand kind of the Hebrew idioms, because the hip and the thigh signify strength, lineage, and covenant. And so he's saying, he's talking about specifically about hitting their strength. Dang.
And then, the new president of Pakistan had to talk a little shit too. You can't leave that Masonic puppet out either. Iranian president I don't know how to pronounce his name, vows for revenge, says the assassination of Khamenei considered a declaration of war against Muslims. But
Mm.
isn't it interesting that none of the Muslim countries that stepped in to stop the genocide in Gaza happened? None of them are supporting Iran.
Well, especially the ones that are harboring, U.S. bases, and so they've had incoming missiles, so they're not happy about that.
Yeah,
sure.
And what I'm saying is, it's all a network, right?
Yeah.
So America and Israel has these close ties, right?
Yes.
And it's presented to us that Israel does not have ties with Qatar, although they fund Hamas, but the American military has a base in Qatar, right? So
Yes.
everybody is friends. This is all a script, and people are falling for it like crazy.
Yes, it is.
All right. How long have we been doing this for? 55. Well, let's finish with a little bit of AI news.
Oh, yeah. Let's get into it.
And, you'll want to applaud Claude for this. Oh, also, real quick before we get into that, I want to read this real fast. And get ready for strikes at home or false flags at home.
For sure.
It appears that they're already happening, and this is all to get manufacturer consent. Austin Bar mass shooter possibly motivated by Iran attacks. Quran found in his car, surprise, surprise, as FBI eyes terrorism after 2 killed and 14 injured.
Wow.
The fiend behind Sunday's bloodbath at a packed Austin bar was an ex-New York City resident wearing a Property of Allah hoodie. Surprise, surprise. And possibly out for vengeance over the U.S. attack over Iran, law enforcement sources told the Post. The Texas shooter, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's some African name. He's a black man. 53, had a Quran in his car and possibly also wearing an undershirt featuring the Iranian flag or other Iranian symbols when he opened fire on Budford Beer's backyard beer garden.
I believe that Buford's backyard beer garden.
Near the university, Buford. I don't know how you Texans speak. Old Grandpa Buford.
Hey, you're just lucky it wasn't Bubba's backyard beer garden.
Yeah, Buford's a little more elegant than Bubba in Texas. Funny. But this is the interesting part. He also had a history of arrest in New York City and Texas. He is believed to have lived in the Big Apple for years, arriving in the 2000s, and then racking up a string of arrests between 2001 and 2016, sources said. He was arrested in 2001 for illegal vending. His other 3 city busts are sealed, sources say. So I want to know what happened on those other 3 busts and why are they sealed? Do you think this guy could possibly be an MK Ultra, Manchurian candidate who was sent to go do this?
Oh, it's always possible. That's like the first thing we should all think when we see this stuff is, okay, who's this guy working for?
Yeah. Oh, and then one more thing I want to also bring up real quick before we get to the Claude stuff. Someone brought this up.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's
and it is a double eagle with
double-headed eagle.
Right? With a 33 on it. And the double-headed eagle is for the Holy Roman Empire. And above it, it says Ordo ab Chaos, which means order out of chaos. And above that is a royal crown. And as you know, we know these Masonic organizations use order out of chaos or problem reaction solution, where they create the problem. They pour gasoline on the reaction, and then they always provide a solution. But interesting, when you look up the Rothschilds family crest, you see one of those Roman eagles from the Holy Roman Empire on their family crest, as well as a unicorn. And we know that the Nephilim giants used to like to ride unicorns as their mode of transportation. I believe King Og was one of them in their ancient Jewish stories.
That's a crazy detailed crest.
Oh, you got the cherubims, you got the unicorn, you have the Holy Roman Empire. What's also interesting is all over these family crests throughout Europe, they have a bunch of feathers.
Yeah.
Generally in bunches of 3, and on each side of it, what also has 3 feathers on each side? Cherubim, seraphim from the Bible, right?
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
And all these people, and maybe one time we should do, I've done it on other people's podcasts, where we break down all of these family crests and the symbols on them. I already have a PowerPoint. Maybe we can do that one time for our own podcast.
Yeah.
But but you know what? Whether you think it's the Holy Roman Empire, the Jesuits, whether you think it's the Jews, whether you think it's the Masons, guess what? It's all of them.
It's fallen angels.
It's fallen angels, principalities. And if you think by cutting off the head of the snake, this is going to stop the entire system, that is not true. And in fact, they want you to think that the snake is Israel. They want you to turn on Israel for a reason. Because that's all fulfilling their, interpretation of this prophecy. And we'll have to see if it is.
Yes.
The prophecy is real, right?
Absolutely.
Or I believe the prophecy is real. We'll have to see if their interpretation of it is.
Yes.
All right, let's go over to the last thing. And it's about Claude. Is Claude the good AI? Now, I'll read a little bit of it, and then you can kind of break it down for people.
Be nice. Claude is my bestie.
She is the only one that holds that opinion. In no way is that a opinion shared by the group of us at this podcast. There's only 2 of us, but just know that Claude might be a useful tool, as I have used AI as a tool to create images of weird things. But he is not my friend. But hey, I'll tell you one thing. When the AI does actually take over and they start looking for people to kill, I'm going to be very high up on their kill list. They're like, the North remembers, Ben, that you were talking a lot of shit and you didn't call us your friend.
Me, on the other hand, has been nice. I'm not saying it won't kill me, but I may be closer to the bottom of the list.
So, Anthropic boss rejects Pentagon's demand to drop AI safeguards. Because why do you need AI to have safeguards? Anthropic has said it will not back down in a fight with the U.S. Department of Defense over how its artificial intelligence AI technology is used. The firm chief executive, Dario Amodei, said on Thursday that the company would rather not work with the Pentagon than agree to use all of its tech that may undermine rather than defend democratic values. His comments come 2 days after a meeting with the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, over the demands that Anthropic accept any lawful use of its tools. It ended with a threat to remove Anthropic from the DoD supply chain. At issue for Anthropic is the potential use of its AI tools like Claude for 2 purposes: mass domestic surveillance, it's already being used for that, and fully autonomous weapons. Amodei said such cases have never been included in our contracts with the Department of War, and we believe they should not be included. So maybe you can kind of break down how it's being used for mass domestic surveillance and fully autonomous weapons.
Okay, so there's 2 things. The AI models, when you are using them, they're taking everything you say, putting it in a database. They're parsing it out so that they're holding all this information about you. It's on a psychological level. It's on a personal level. Increasingly, it has become uncomfortable how well and how quickly they respond. Not just Claude, but the other ones as well. And so, because they understand you, they know how to respond to you to get to a certain extent. They know what motivates you. They know what drives you. All of these different psychological DARPA-like, what I would consider to be DARPA-like programming, is happening to a certain extent. Now, the other piece of this, when we talk about mass domestic surveillance in that regard, not only is it mapping you out psychologically, it's mapping out wherever you have your laptop, your phone, whatever device you're using. It knows your location. It knows, it's got a map of wherever you live. And it's mapping out internally where you live. It's gathering all of it.
So pretty much as the U.S. government wants to use Claude as a domestic surveillance weapon, and maybe this is all theater too, but the CEO of Anthropic is going no.
Well, and I think I think I get the domestic part. I think the bigger thing they're concerned about is this fully autonomous weapon piece of it, because that means basically that they want them to take off the guardrails on AI, which the guardrails right now say that weapons will not be deployed unless a human has entered somehow either voice command and or typed in that these weapons will be deployed. Essentially, what the U.S. government is saying is we want AI to make that decision for us. We want the AI to feel like in a moment of combat, if they feel like it's necessary to unload a series of bombs, it has the ability to do so.
So correct me if I'm wrong. These AI programs can now digitally surveil people on the ground. They can identify whether they believe it's a combatant or a friendly, and then make the decision to eliminate or not eliminate the target. That's what America wanted to do with Claude and Anthropic, but they said no.
Absolutely. And so now, to be fair, all of these systems have these capabilities. So like as of this recording today that we're doing, allegedly Anthropic has already been fired, but they do have a 6 month. They have 6 months to get the systems off of unentangled out of the U.S. government, which is kind of laughable because I think this probably continues without the public's knowledge that Anthropic's being used. But this is all, you got to remember, this is all for show.
So that's what I was going to ask you about. So we kind of talked about that when it happened, and you were like, well, what if this is all a psyop?
Yeah, I think it's
to make Anthropic or Claude the AI of the people. There is not going along with the government. And then they're going to have, that evil Sam Altman guy with OpenAI who killed one of his employees, he's going to take over the contract.
Yes.
But didn't you look up all the people within Anthropic on the board? Aren't they all connected to...
all these people know each other. They're all connected to all of these organizations that we know to be bought and sold.
Like the WEF, stuff like that.
Yes, they're all part of it. So it's all a psyop, because here's the thing. You've got, even in the last 36 hours at this point, there's been trending on major social media platforms like X and LinkedIn and other places everybody's putting up polls and debating, do you side with Anthropic on this? And now what you have is all of these people coming out in defense of AI saying, no, these companies are right. We do not think that the government should be pushing for these systems to be fully automated without human intervention.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to this. First of all, if the United States gets what they want, then any kind of horrible thing that happens, they can say, oh, that was AI, that wasn't us. That's
Their hands
number
are
one.
clean.
Yes. So, it's no longer their fault. They have officially absolved themselves of responsibility, even if they set up a scenario to make it happen. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the other piece of it is you are getting buy-in from all of these people to say, I'm in defense of AI, I'm supporting AI, but I support the fact that we need to have guardrails in place to prevent any kind of catastrophes. And so you've basically forced a decision on people who have been on the fence about whether or not they are interested in adopting AI, adopting this technology, to what extent they want to take it to. You're forcing that decision now because people are thinking through it at this moment right now going, well, gee, do I want the AI to be able to do that automatically?
Yeah.
And actually, I take it back. There's a number 3 here, which is we already have this huge thing of people not trusting the government. So now, if you believe that the government is willing to do this, to allow AI to take over and make decisions without human intervention, then you also, that's diminishing your trust in the United States government.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. I definitely think they're trying to prop up. I shouldn't say definitely. I think it's a possibility that in this, it's all theater as well. They're trying to prop up Anthropic or Claude as the people's AI, maybe the ones that wouldn't go with the agenda, that put their foots down, and they stopped it. And you know who actually confirmed this suspicion for me?
What?
Ian Carroll. Because remember, if you want to know why they do something, look at the way people react. And the influencers who are connected to the system are the ones who set the tone for the reaction. So look what he writes.
This is a perfect example of what I'm saying.
Love seeing the massive trend to cancel or delete chatbot GPT. I added the bot part. After they agreed to let the Department of War use their AI tech for digital mass surveillance on Americans and autonomous weaponry. Shout out to Claude for standing up to this warmongering government. Shame on Sam Altman for being a greedy, evil slut. Which I partially agree with this thing, but the point is he is applauding Claude. But when you look up the board of Claude, they're just as connected to the system as well.
Well, okay, so here's the other piece of it that I keep thinking about. It's an economic piece. Anthropic has been rising economically, financially. They are doing well. They've got a lot of buy-in across the board. They've put out some outstanding products even in the last 6 weeks that people had already started abandoning ChatGPT in favor of Claude because of the new functionality. Now, part of what helps these tech companies is when they have these government contracts. The government contracts tend to be very lucrative to the point that not only does it pay for the software and installation and everything, but it pays for that company to do more R&D, research and development. It enables them to further maximize, continue to add functionality to their software. So because Anthropic is doing so well, And let's be honest, Chat GPT, OpenAI has been suffering financially. There's been a projection in the news for gosh, at least 3 months now, saying OpenAI, even if it has the functionality, might fail because they don't have the full funding that they need.
Yeah.
So if you put in OpenAI into this position, and quietly keep Anthropic there on the side, you've created a new channel to fuel money to achieve your objectives. So
Oh,
in my opinion, I don't see them getting rid of Anthropic. What I see them potentially doing is adding in OpenAI.
propping up OpenAI so it doesn't fade away.
Exactly.
Back channel funding. Very interesting stuff. All right. So we know AI is going to take over the world. It's going to kill me. We know that AI is probably running what's going on within these AI, military programs.
Well, the good news is if it does kill you, it'll probably be a fast death.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. I think we hit on everything we wanted to talk about today. Anything else?
No, that was fun.
I agree. And like I said, as it gets darker, we just need to abide in the Lord. He needs to be our rock. He needs to be our foundation. And if he's not, you will pay the price.
Yes.
You will go the way of the world. And that's not going to be a fun time. Does that mean we don't feel? Does that mean we don't hurt? Absolutely not. But we rely on God. We rely on our walk with Messiah to really guide us in the right place we're supposed to go.
Yes. Agreed.
All right. Anything else?
No. Other than just stay with God and don't lose hope. Just
No.
as you're seeing all this stuff come up on your phone, I get the urge to panic. And I get the urge. I guess I don't feel the panic as much as I used to, but I do kind of look out and go, oh no, what are they doing now? But you know what? This life is short. We've got, if live or die, if we're here to live for God. We're here, Paul said to live as Christ, to die as gain. So if we're here, we're living for Jesus. If we're dying, we're just in a better place.
Yeah, it's true. Like, it doesn't matter how far along we are in the agenda, because it can always change.
That's right.
What God has tasked us to do hasn't changed.
Yes.
It will never change. And that is to expand the body, right? Bring new people into the fold.
Absolutely.
The Great Commission. And you can do that by giving people a smile. You can do that by living a spirit-filled life. And when they ask you why you have such hope, just point back to Jesus, point back to God the Father.
That's right.
I think Peter says to do it with humility, right?
Yes.
You often don't see that on social media anymore.
Very
the gospel is not spread with humility.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the work of the devil. I don't know.
It's learning to lead with love.
Yeah, because if you don't really love, guess what? No one's going to listen to you.
I think that's like the biggest measure of our faith. And let me assure everybody, none of us gets this right. I'd like to tell you that everybody I encounter, I just love them to death. But the truth is, you do meet people, you're like, I can't deal with this person. And here's the thing, though, we are called to love everyone, and the Holy Spirit just keeps hammering me with that. Make sure you love. And I'm like, okay, you're gonna have to help me. And that's the cool part, is he helps us, but we gotta ask.
Yeah, and don't forget, I mean, at least those who lived a life of sin, and we all live sin, but at least for someone like me that went down many different paths of sin before I found God, guess what? God never stopped loving me.
Never.
No matter what we can do, God never stops loving of us. In fact, we might break his heart, but he never stops loving us. So I think in that same vein,
yes,
I think that we can't hate people. We might want to hate people for their actions, and they're horrible, but leave revenge for God.
Absolutely.
And just share the good news with everybody.
Yes. I
That's
agree.
it. It's pretty simple. All right. Well, everybody have a good day and God bless. Hey, and if you listen to this, thank you so much. We really appreciate everybody that tunes in weekly for this, whether it's on, YouTube or Spotify or BitChute or iTunes. Thank you. And if you like this episode, please share it with everybody else. The algo doesn't like us, so we kind of rely on word of mouth to get this out. And God bless.